Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Dion, Director of Sales here at Pioneer RX. You've probably seen my face a couple times most recently and maybe even heard my voice. You're going to hear a bit more of me as I'll be hosting some of these upcoming podcasts, talking with a lot of individuals here in the industry, probably more focused on the community side, but looking forward to it. So thanks so much for joining. Today we had the chance to host TJ Woodard with Prescriptions to Go in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He's got a couple locations. Has an interesting story about how he, came into owning his own locations. Maybe it wasn't just that natural progression. He's kind of worked his way through, getting out of school, going through chains, and actually had an opportunity to go back to professional school for his master's. Shout out to his wife, Amy, for helping him do that. But he's had a really unique journey. And that's ultimately led him to being really close, distance-wise, literal, to the state capitol. And we broke down today just some of the the things that have gone really well in Baton Rouge recently in the legislative session with some of these House bills and some of the things that were passed. A lot of backing from the governor. So we've seen some really good movement. So we had a chance to unfold, some of that today. Talk about what's current state, what were the advancements with reform and transparency for reimbursements and some of those things. And then looking ahead, we talked about today in the episode about, not if, when we'll have more reform here and really creating a template that I think other states can take to. So it was a great episode. We're excited and we'll take you there now. Just want to unpack a little bit more about TJ's journey in the pharmacy and really what we've been able to accomplish here in the recent state legislative session. So thanks for joining, TJ. Happy to have you on.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I know we've got a lot we want to talk about here. Certainly some recent developments that have happened in the legislation, but just to kind of keep it simple here and start out, man, if you don't mind, kind of share with me a little bit about your journey in the pharmacy. Maybe what was of interest to you that kind of led you down this path and ultimately ownership and everything.
Yeah, well, it's, I guess, kind of an interesting path. It certainly was never really my plan. I'd love to say that I had this dream as a kid of being a pharmacist and all these things. I really didn't. I was one of those graduated high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was in engineering for a while, went the pre-med route for a while, and then I really don't have a good explanation, but I got a friend that was applying to pharmacy school. So I was like, that sounds pretty good. And,
so next step, right?
I guess there are days I wish I would have gone another route probably, but I really do enjoy it. Never in school did I imagine or have a plan to own a pharmacy or to get involved, certainly with, advocacy or legislative affairs or anything like that. I guess these things just kind of evolved naturally out of necessity for me. But went to pharmacy school, met my wife, Amy. She was in my pharmacy school class. We enjoyed Monroe, graduated. She's from South Louisiana, from Ville Platte. I'm from Northwest Louisiana, from Bossier, and getting married, and we really didn't have a plan or know what we were going to do. So Baton Rouge seemed like a good compromise while we kind of figured out what we were going to do. And that was now, I guess, 18 years ago. So we're still figuring it out. But we both went the kind of chain pharmacy route out of school, which I think a lot of people do. And I'm glad I did it. It was absolutely awful, but I'm glad it was a good place to start and to know. I learned in a short period of time, about a year, like, well, I don't know what I want to do, but it's not this.
That's absolutely it. And I think that gives you that perspective of going, that really puts you in the space of once you figure out what it is, it kind of confirms it, right?
Yeah. And along the way, and all through pharmacy school, I worked in a hospital, in the charity hospital setting, and really enjoyed that. Even the retail side. And once I left the chain and went to kind of regional grocery pharmacy, I enjoyed it a lot more. And it sounds cliche, I really do like pharmacy. I like helping people. I like talking to people. I like being able to fix things that shouldn't be complicated, but are. it kind of evolved. And as even at the grocery chain, I started kind of getting a little disgruntled, not with pharmacy, and even at the time, not even the PBM issues or reimbursements or anything like that. It was really more corporate nonsense. Like I'm not the kind of person that I don't like to do things to check a box because somebody somewhere says I need to. So I went back in 2009 to get my MBA to get out of pharmacy.
Oh, wow.
So I went to night school at LSU. Amy was fully supportive, and if you're going to do it now type thing. And I really was planning on getting out of pharmacy, whether it was hospital management or some sort of other, angle of healthcare. But of course, in that process, one of my classmates at LSU, an MBA program, kind of suggested opening my own pharmacy in downtown Baton Rouge. And that was the genesis of it. And I kind of started considering, I was like, well, I don't dislike pharmacy. I love all the things that come with working and operating a pharmacy. I just don't like the corporate BS. So if I'm the corporate BS, then I guess I have some control over it. So that's kind of how it evolved.
Yeah, you get to pull the levers, right? Gotcha. So I'll kind of recap here. So, oftentimes, especially in my college career, I've seen a lot of this. Boy is in school, boy continues to go to professional school because he's not sure what he wants to do. Boy meets girl, decides to finish professional school, and that's kind of that trajectory, right? Am I kind of leading the lens there?
That's the formula, yeah. And I'm a sycophant. Like, I love school. I love learning. I love if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would go get a history degree just because I love school. But Amy was very supportive. She was the breadwinner during all this, and it was kind of one of those things. If I'm going to do it now. And honestly, thank God, because I have 3 kids now that are active and we're very involved in their lives and their activities. I could never do it now. So
that's fair, right? And you had your biggest cheerleader right there supporting you along the way. One of those things I just wanted to mention, as you talked about, just kind of your career going from chain and then eventually going to, did you say grocery? You did grocery for a bit. I have a background as a technician and worked in grocery as well. And I think one of the more interesting things that you probably saw, you said, you talked about being, disgruntled was, I think it's sometimes the way pharmacy is viewed maybe in grocery chains, that it's just maybe another line item. And it's not the focus there. And I think that can bring some challenges sometimes. I know, particularly in my experience, a lot of times we heard about pharmacy, particularly just being higher salaries. And that's the way they kind of looked at us, more on a line item versus, improving that process, maybe bringing value to the company overall. What are your thoughts?
I agree. In a way, I kind of liked that in the beginning. It was, we were kind of over in the corner in our own world. Nobody really knew what we did or why. The general kind of, I guess, the understanding, at least the way I understood it, was that as long as we're, breaking even or making a little bit of a profit,
kind of leave you alone.
They generally leave us alone. And I really like that. But if you know anything about the grocery business, like every square inch of those places need to be generating revenue. And I really fear for just the consolidation we've seen with independents going away or getting bought up with, when Dixie closed, Target sold to CVS. I really fear for the longevity of these grocery chains for those reasons. And also because they're victim to the same PBM reimbursement issues that we are. And it's just really tough right now, especially if the pharmacy side is an afterthought to a bigger, grocery operation.
Got it. Tell me a little bit more along your career path. What were, obviously it kind of put you on a path of going, listen, I've done this, check the box. I know I don't want to be here. And ultimately that led you to professional school. But what were maybe just some of those key takeaways in either of those settings that said, this is the good, maybe this is the not so good? What were things that stood out to you?
Well, I guess the not so good was that first year I mentioned working for the big chain. We were young and wanted to pay off loans. I didn't have kids. So I was a floater. I went from Morgan City to Baker, Zachary, Lafayette, wherever.
60 to 70 hours a week,
and,
right?
And I would take every shift they would give me, and it really wore on me. I mean, we were working 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., so 14-hour days with no lunch break. I would have to set an alarm on my phone to drink water, go to the restroom. Like it was that bad. And so I learned the pharmacy side, and they do some things really well. They do some things. And so I guess it was kind of a two-edged sword. Like I hated the work kind of, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like the atmosphere, I guess, the stress, how I saw the way I thought they were treating people, technicians, clerks, things like that. But I learned that I really do like pharmacy, and, I guess some selfish pleasure out of helping someone and fixing a problem that other people don't seem to be able to or care to fix. Like, it really isn't that difficult. Let's figure this out. And, I guess that kind of started the process of me realizing that
put those things in motion.
I love pharmacy. I don't like the outside forces that get in the way of the patient doctor pharmacist relationship.
I agree with you. And I think as I compare, what that previous work history for you looked like as compared to maybe working in an independent or owning your own, sometimes those environments feel a bit sterile, right? Less of that personal touch. And also I think about, in your role today, you definitely strike me as a person that goes, listen, I don't have the solution for this, but I'm the one that can find it, and I'm going to go do that. And I can do that in a quicker fashion and respond quicker to my patient's needs. And I think that's always where the strong suit of independent pharmacy comes in. So tell me a little bit more, kind of continuing on there. You finish professional school, you get to a point where, you say to classmate, kind of put that bug in your ear of potentially owning your own. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I always say, like, kind of half jokingly, but not really, like, if I knew then what I know now, I would have never done it. It was a terrible idea, but
I think a lot of people say that, right?
I think it's just being young and naive and I guess wishful and hopeful. And I am,
and fearless.
I think my wife, to some extent, I think Amy would second this. I'm a fairly stubborn, hard-headed person. I generally don't like to lose or take no for an answer. But if we had the discussion, I was like, this could be a complete failure. But, we started off with no money and working the corporate job. And if I have to do that, I'll do it again and we'll figure it out. So
you can go back to it. Yeah.
That was kind of, and funny enough, like one of the hardest calls and things I stressed about the most was telling my parents this, because they're like working class people. They worked hard. They saved. My dad got up early. My mom made him lunch. He would eat the same thing 20 days a row if he needed to. My mind doesn't operate like that. And it's funny, when I told him, I was dreading it. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I could never do this because I need stability. I need a retirement plan. I need a 401k. I need this. And he said, I know you can do it. So that was, I guess, good motivation for me. And again, if it fails, it fails. So Amy was supportive. She was actually, funny enough, working at the prison, in the state prison system in Louisiana. So, we had good insurance. She had a stable job. And it was like, give me a couple of years to figure this out and we'll know if it's going to work and if it doesn't. And the first few months were, when you're filling like 10 or 15 prescriptions a day, it was, I hid most of that from her and told her, oh, everything's great. Yeah, we had a busy day. So
idle time, right? It kind of wears on you a bit.
It does. But fear can be a powerful motivator too. So during that process, I learned a lot. And, we had kind of a unique business model in downtown Baton Rouge. We were delivering on a bike. We had a guy that would come in every afternoon and ride a bike around and deliver prescriptions. Not that it was like some genius business concept I had. There's no place to park and we needed to get people their medicine. So
I love that.
It ended up being kind of a cool little niche for us. And the people downtown, a couple of people very specifically, but were very good to us and supportive and helpful, and they really wanted it to succeed. So without that help from a lot of kind of external factors, I don't know that it would have worked, but it did. And people in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana generally, people are very loyal, and they tend to support local if they can. And generally, if you take care of people and treat them well, they reciprocate with extreme loyalty, which is what we've both, neither one of us are from Baton Rouge, but they've kind of adopted us here, and people have been just tremendously loyal and good to us. So without that, it wouldn't work either.
Well, I think there's a lot of communities where independent pharmacies thrive throughout the country, but I know what I've kind of been in and here in South Louisiana, but Louisiana in general, there's a lot of support local, right? It's that mentality. And it always comes back to, I think of, if I can help enough people, kind of a Zig Ziglar deal, if I can help enough people, then I'll really get what I'm looking for too. But it's really about extending that hand, and supporting local is a big part of that. That's awesome to hear that, like you said, there were some folks that kind of helped you get going, and a lot of growth there as you kind of started to grow the business and all. So you opened that first location. What year is that, TJ?
We opened the Ides of March in 2013. So March 15th, 2013. And again, it just kind of naturally grew. I wish I could say that I had this profound moment in business school and I'm more qualified now that I have that degree. That's not at all how it works, but it did make me think differently and realize to look at things a little differently. And we didn't really advertise. It was just kind of natural and word of mouth. And my theory was always that if you do the right thing, take care of people, it will naturally work itself out. One of our, I guess, kind of, again, niche, I didn't never intend for it to be this way, but we have a really good relationship with local providers, whether it be PAs, nurse practitioners, or doctors. And it's really because we just try to make their life easier. It was, I don't want to bog you down with unnecessary paperwork and prior authorizations or whatever. Like, let me call you with a solution. This is what I think. This is what their insurance will cover. This is what I think the patient can afford. Like, let's figure something out. That's worked out really well for us because, again, those prescribers they appreciate that because we're not wasting their time. We're working with them and it's not this adversarial relationship. And they
absolutely
end up sending a lot of folks to us or referring folks to us. So.
Yeah. And as you start to develop those relationships, ultimately what's the common goal? We want to make sure that patient's getting their medications. We don't want to create additional barriers and have that tension between us. Mm-hmm. We're both practitioners. What can we do to find success for that patient at the end of the day? I love that. So of course that was something that, like you said, you kind of discovered along the way. What were some other things that you felt, 2013, 12 years of ownership? What were some of the things that really helped you grow or what kind of got you to the point? I haven't shared this yet, but you now have a second location. What kind of evolved to say, we're doing this really well. There's a need here. Let's go ahead and move forward on a second site.
Well, I had an idea in mind, basically like a break-even number of prescriptions or revenue or whatever. And I was like, if I can get to this point, this is sustainable. And then anything beyond that is lagniappe. So for those of you not in Louisiana, that's like a bonus, basically.
Educate us, right? TJ. Tell us what it is, man.
So shameless plug for our state here. But so I had that idea in mind. And again, this wasn't that long ago, 12 years ago, the reimbursement model, and we generally were being paid fairly. If you filled a prescription, you generally, you weren't getting rich filling individual prescriptions, but you weren't losing money and you had an idea. As that evolved, I saw that's when the PBM kind of issues started. They started chipping away, and we always seemed to be like the lowest common denominator, like just cut reimbursement to the pharmacies, cut reimbursement, force people to use mail order, force people to use brick and mortar chain stores, But the second location, I was like, I can do this. Now I know how to run a pharmacy. I know that I can do it. And again, I wish I had this profound moment. I wanted to open a second location. Amy's sure not going to do it. I can't be in two places at once. So, I'm not really crazy about like being like a manager. That's not my deal. But I was talking to a colleague from a store I used to work at. She was getting frustrated about some things. Again, the corporate stuff. And I was like, Lisa, who's our pharmacist in charge now at our new location, our 5 years ago now, but I said, Lisa, you should open your own pharmacy. Like, I can help you. I can give you the template. I can set you up with Pioneer, with a wholesaler. Like, it's not as complicated as you think it is. You're from here. Everybody loves you. Everybody knows you. And it's funny. She said, I can never do that. Like, my mind doesn't work like that. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And she kind of, I don't know if she was joking or not, but she's like, if you open another one, I'll run it for you. And so that kind of started. I don't sleep very well at night. I think about these things. And I don't know, maybe it was a month later, maybe it was 6 months later. And I called her and I was like, if you're serious, I think we have a plan. And so that was kind of how it.
Oh, wow.
And with the second one,
That's
I knew
awesome.
a lot. I did a lot of things differently than I did the first time, location. And so I had a better idea. And so our second location very quickly was much busier than our first location.
Was that based off of just some quick things, like you said, probably putting more emphasis on that second site, where it's going to be located, proximity of, obviously I know you had the downtown business previously, but were there some factors there that kind of led you going, hey, this is the right area, but I think we can scale quicker?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I can pinpoint any specific thing, but I just inherently knew generally where we go to church, where our kids go to school, where like 90% of where I operate is in this
your day-to-day
general area. And again, people are fiercely loyal to their neighbors, to us, to small business owners. So I had an idea. Downtown, probably any downtown, but certainly downtown Baton Rouge is a very unique kind of environment. There was only so much room for growth down there. And this was a little more of a traditional, and it just, again, I wish I could say this was genius planning, but we just happened to be probably within a mile of the medical district in Baton Rouge, which is several hospitals, tons of clinics, tons of physicians' offices. And that certainly, the proximity to that and a lot more rooftops and houses and where people actually live and travel, I think that was the formula that worked.
Got it. Well, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit as you talked about, being in downtown, obviously with the Capitol being right there. Kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit more about just recently what's kind of, I guess we could say, unfolded with the recent legislative session. I think you've got a really unique perspective on this. So tell me a little bit more of how you got maybe more involved with, the upcoming sessions, or kind of what was your introduction into, really pushing for reform in Louisiana, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing at all. I never intended to. I never had a plan. I was interested in politics and state government and things like that. But as far as pharmacy advocacy, but one day Randall Johnson, the director of Louisiana Independent Pharmacists Association, which is also downtown Baton Rouge, he's been one of my best friends, mentors. He knows this world inside and out. And he came into the pharmacy and he was working on some stuff with Louisiana Medicaid. And he asked me what was the dispensing fee from Louisiana Medicaid. And I was honestly embarrassed because I had no idea. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, which is kind of embarrassing being a business owner and a pharmacy operator. But that kind of started, and I started asking him a lot of questions. I learned the best thing about pharmacy is like the old guard, the guys and ladies that have done this for 50 years or more, they're always anxious and willing to help us young, I'm not young anymore, but any way they can. So that was kind of my model, was to find the people that I thought were the smartest, knew the most involved, ran the best pharmacies. And I asked them every question I could think of.
And potentially saw those changes unfold over time, right? So they could provide that
That's
experience
right. I mean, they
and
saw it
that
go
perspective.
from no PBMs to, this perverse world we live in now. I mean, 30, 40 years ago, if you were filling 200 prescriptions a day, you were crushing it. I mean, now that's probably less than average, but so I kind of got involved in that. I kind of started keeping up with some things that were happening at the legislature. And then I was elected to serve on the board of LIPA. Have since, I think it was like 2016, maybe. I'm still on the board, and it's, to me, the most valuable organization certainly in the state, maybe nationwide, for pharmacy, but just really involved in kind of how the sausage is made and things that the average pharmacist, including myself, had no idea about, didn't even know we needed to have an idea about. So that was what kind of got the ball rolling. And then really, I'm in Baton Rouge. I'm in the shadow of the Capitol. We deliver to the Capitol every day, certainly during session. And some of my colleagues were coming from Shreveport or from Monroe. And I was like, well, that's not really fair to them to take a day off when I'm right here. So that's kind of how I got involved. And then I realized a lot of the legislatures just didn't know at all what we were talking about. So that was an opportunity. And then luckily we filled prescriptions for a lot of them. So we developed a relationship, a friendship, and that's kind of evolved over the years. And thank God it's become more and more necessary. Without those things and action at the both federal and state legislature, I don't know that independent pharmacy could survive. And one of the things I always tell people, like, I guess on paper, independent pharmacy owners are competitors, certainly those of us in the same area or city, but we don't look at ourselves like that. I mean, we're more colleagues than we are competitors, and we're not paid lobbyists. We're just all here fighting for the same cause. And it's different people from different areas offering different perspectives that really, it strikes a chord at the legislature. It really does. And everybody knows their local representatives. It's one of the truly bipartisan things that happens over there. It affects everybody, young, old, white, black, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. And so that, I really like that part. I truly believe we're fighting for good. And I think they realize that and really want to help us.
Absolutely. You mentioned, colleagues that would often come in, spend a day at the Capitol. I could see that with you and your personality, where it kind of tugs at you a bit and you go, I've got to really take some more ownership into this. And what I'm doing is right around the corner from the Capitol. I could really help, add some value here. And it sounds like you've been able to do that over the last 9 years with LIPA as well.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that what is it, like a kid's book or whatever? If it is to be, it's up to me. And I don't like asking people to do things that I wouldn't do myself. And so I certainly deferred to the folks that were way more knowledgeable and way more involved and have been doing this for a long time. I was just a worker bee, whatever I could do to help them. Or if I happened to know a representative that was a friend of mine, I would reach out to them. But I really just kind of spent the first few years just absorbing as much as I could and learning the process. I mean, it's really intimidating if you're not used to going to the Capitol or testifying in front of a committee or the full House or whatever it is. It's extremely intimidating, but I guess I hate to call myself like a subject matter expert, but I think all independent pharmacy owners are subject matter experts to what we do, what we need, and what we need to survive. And so once I started seeing some of the response and, hey, we actually got something done, it kind of lit the fire and was reassuring that this isn't like, let's wear matching t-shirts and go, hold up signs or something.
It's not a rah-rah session, right?
It's not that. It's actually getting things done. And it's really rewarding for me.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, let's kind of talk about just more of this recent session, how you were kind of involved in some of that, maybe on seeing some of those things develop. So tell me a little bit more about that story, how that kind of came about for you, working with some of these legislators, being in some of these meetings.
Well, one of the things I realized is a lot of the things that happen during session has been in the works for long before it gets there, before the committee or before the final vote. There's a lot of people doing a lot of work to get these things done. So certainly for folks like LIPA, they never stop working on what's next, what's coming, the PBMs are very, very good, and it's a moving target. We may outlaw DIR fees.
A great way to explain it, by the way.
They're really good. If they would only apply that to medicine, it would be wonderful. But, if we outlaw DIR fees or get a state law banning DIR fees, they just shift and name it something else and call it something else. So there are certain years, 2019 was a big year. Senator Freddie Mills is a pharmacist and a pharmacy owner. State Representative Bernard Labat is a pharmacist and pharmacy owner. They got a lot of things done, and it's really good having a pharmacist. And at the Capitol, people deferred to them a lot. So I think that was certainly helpful. There are years where we have these big plans that this is it. We're going for this. And a lot of times that doesn't work out for whatever reason. This was one of those years that it wasn't even really on my radar. I didn't think we had that much going on. But oddly enough, the governor's office kind of reached out, his healthcare folks. They wanted to fix the PBM issue, which was very, very reassuring. And so a small group of us met with them a couple of months before session and kind of got a template and a roadmap. And here are some things we want, we dream of, we desperately need. And their guidance was kind of like, let's go for it all and see what happens. That was a very nice welcome change to us from the fourth floor in the governor's office, and having their support and them kind of guiding the ship is tremendously helpful. So it kind of evolved from that. The bills were filed, and one of the it's actually a guy I grew up with, a classmate, Senator Adam Bass from North Louisiana, Bossier, is on the insurance committee. And he just started calling me and asking questions and texting, learning as much as he could about this hyper unnecessarily complicated world we live in. And from that, it evolved to, he set up a meeting there was a group of us that would meet, I think it was every Wednesday or Thursday morning, a couple of senators, a couple of representatives, PCMA and the PBMs were in the room. Blue Cross Louisiana was in the room. Pharma was in the room. Legislative attorneys and staffers were in the room. Those are the folks that actually write the bills and kind of get things done.
Absolutely.
LIPA, I and Donaldson Caffrey, who's the counsel for LIPA, were in the room, and we just kind of started negotiating. And it was really a beautiful thing to see that it just kind of evolved. And we were like, let's just find something we can all agree on. And I was pretty blunt. I mean, I told them,
is that more of negotiation there before we bring those things to the floor?
I guess there was some negotiation. It was, what can you live with? What can't you live with? I mean, right. I'm a fairly blunt person. And I told the guy from PCMA and the PBMs, I was like, if you guys were just a little less greedy, you could get away with this forever. But you could shear the sheep indefinitely, but you're getting really close to skinning the sheep. And that's our hill to die on. So that's kind of what this session evolved into. And there was some sister legislation kind of working itself through the process that I was completely uninvolved with, that evolved into the PBM, and we can get into that. The vertical integration piece, that was like the big nuclear bomb that was dropped at the last minute. But ours was really just working with PCMA, and oddly enough, like
transparency,
man. And pharma is often the bad guy, and they get beat up, and we're not always on the same side of them. I don't like paying a bunch of money for brand name drugs either, but pharma was on the same side as us. I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I get a little sick pleasure when the target is on the PBMs because it should be.
Talk about a couple of these bills and some of the success. I think we took, just highlighted transparency. Can we talk about I think it was House Bill 264? What was that more of defining specialty?
Well, it's funny enough. Like that's one of the things that evolved out of these meetings. That was Representative Eccles' bill. He's from the Monroe area, which is where the ULM, the pharmacy school that I went to, is. He's a really sharp guy and a really aggressive guy, and I love that. And he was involved in this, and it was, how much can we change your bill or amend it without upsetting you? And his response was, as long as it's good for you and patients and employers in the state of Louisiana, great. So the specialty thing, I don't even think was on our radar, but through this negotiation, and there were first, let me clarify something. When I say PBMs, there are good PBMs. I'm PBM agnostic. They do serve a function and a role, and they can be useful. There are some really good ones.
Absolutely.
Well, I generally mean like the big three folks that kind of dictate medicine these days. So did want to clarify that. But one of the things that became apparent in these negotiations was there were two things. The vertical integration piece, which is like, let's pick on CVS Health, for instance. When you own from the top to the bottom, from even doctor's offices, it's sometimes, but certainly the PBM, the mail order pharmacy, and the brick and mortar pharmacy, that's really, in my opinion, and every independent pharmacy, it's an unfair advantage. So that's the vertical integration piece. The other piece was delinking, which pharma was particularly interested in. And that's essentially separating the price or the cost of the drug from any sort of perverse reimbursement model for the PBMs. And I say pharma is supportive because, I mean, they're being, I don't know if extorted is the right word, it's probably not, but if you want to be on one of the big three's formulary with your fancy new brand name drug, you're going to have to offer them a rebate. And that's sometimes a huge cost, added cost to the cost of the drug that does nothing for anybody else other than the PBM. So it became apparent in these negotiations that vertical integration and delinking were like the hill they were going to die on. And I don't know if they said it explicitly, but it was basically understood like, hey, we'll give y'all anything else as long as you leave those two things alone. And we were like, great. That's not in this bill. That's not an Eccles bill. That's not at all what we're talking about. Now, whatever happened with Representative Dustin Miller's bill on the House side, that's a completely separate beast that showed its head later. But so we got some like unbelievably good language on defining specialty drugs, defining anti-steering provisions, transparency, auditability, that I don't know that we ever thought we would get, but that kind of evolved out of this process. And I guess the biggest takeaway is transparency. If we just had transparency across this whole perverse incentive and reimbursement model, I think it would, sunlight's the best disinfectant. And I think they have a vested interest in this staying muddy and complicated, and
that's a good way to put it.
Seeing where the money goes.
Yeah, gotcha. You bring up some great points there about just the progress. Tell me a little bit more, if we can, about, is it maybe more of the PBM reform bill, more of the investigation side? Tell me, what some of that kind of come in later? Was it unexpected? What does that look like?
It was unexpected in the beginning, but again, Senator Bass was kind of spearheading this group, and it was really a great idea. He just wanted to he's like, I'm tired of playing these games. And, this lobbyist from PCMA coming and telling me this, and y'all telling me this. And
I gotcha.
My constituents back home are terrified because they've been told that their premium's going to double if this passes. So his thought process was like, let's just get everybody in the same room and figure it out, which is really a unique thing over here. And so some of this stuff, we just almost made like a bullet point list of things we wanted. And in the insurance committee, Senator Bass introduced all of these amendments to Representative Eccles' bill that were great for us. And Eccles he was fully supportive. If it's good for the pharmacies, it's good for Louisiana taxpayers and citizens, and it's good for the state and employers, great. So that's how it kind of evolved. And we got a lot of good things done. Oddly enough, Louisiana we're not number one on a lot of lists out there, but on pharmacy legislation, and I'm not one of these like hyper regulation guys, but it's necessary sometimes. We're kind of on the tip of the spear, and we're now starting to see it in a lot of other states, which is great, and which is what it takes. So as this process played out, certainly the last piece, the vertical integration part, people nationwide were watching this play out because
there were a lot of eyes on it for sure.
There were, and they realized, like, if these crazy people from Louisiana can get this done, why can't we?
Yeah, I think you guys were developing quite the roadmap for other states to look at this. Sorry, not trying to interject or anything, but I think it also helps whenever you've got such backing from the governor's office as well on some of these major issues.
It is, and I think, give credit where it's due. Arkansas is leading the way on a lot of this stuff also. They had recently passed this. I don't think a lot of folks, even those of us that are fairly involved in the legislation and kind of advocacy and things like that, I don't really think vertical integration was on a lot of people's radar. When Arkansas got it done, it was like this aha moment. And then again, in these negotiations and seeing PCMA and the PBMs reaction to it, a light bulb went off for me. And I think a lot of others, like, I think we're hitting the right nerve because they're squealing a lot right now. We may be onto something.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you give credit where it's due with Arkansas, what they've been able to create as kind of the initial formula here, as it developed and potentially could go for vote. There were a lot of eyes on it, like you mentioned, especially because of the ramifications of those particular owned pharmacies and the number of those, I think, in Louisiana, if you want to kind of talk about that piece. It would have been very significant.
I think we potentially had the votes to get there. I don't know that the timing was right. It really doesn't matter. But what we did see in this process, again, is just how vehemently they opposed it. And some of the tactics they pulled, specifically CVS, and I'll call them out by name because they did it. Some of the text messages that went out to people across the state of Louisiana were absolutely repulsive. And if that's the way that you have to win, I would rather lose. And I will say that I think it probably worked in the short term, but it will absolutely backfire in the long term. When you send things out that truly scared people, you have veterans are going to lose coverage. Seniors are going to lose coverage. Pharmacists across the state are going to lose their job. Your premiums are going to double. All these things just absolutely, to me, like, I get it. All's fair in love and war and politics, but there's even a line in politics like you don't cross. And I think they did with that. And the one big mistake they made was sending one of those to Governor Jeff Landry's wife. And that's the best thing that ever could have happened because he is a bulldog. And especially when he knows he's on the right side of something. So it's great for us to not be like the white coat pharmacist down there. Everybody's issue is the most important to them. But when his office and his folks took that and really started running with it, it was a beautiful thing to see. And it gave us hope that this may not change this session. It's going to change. And it's now possibly going to change on the federal level, which has to happen also.
Right. Yeah. You bring up, across that point, maybe it was the wrong mistake they made in sending out that messaging campaign. Looking forward though, like you said, and not if, when, what's kind of next on the roadmap? I know there's been some discussions about calling a special session. What does that look like? What are you hearing?
I don't know. I don't know that a special session is going to happen, just being realistic. And because there's some economic reasons. I mean, it's expensive. It's, it's disruptive of these folks, these elected representatives that don't get paid very well to do this. I mean, to come down here and do that. So I don't know that that's going to happen, but I do think it's inevitable at this point. What we're focused on kind of in the short term is, again, we got some really good things passed with Eccles' bill, and it passed, I want to point out, unanimously. There was not a no vote in either the House or the Senate. You go find me another political issue that has that sort of bipartisan support, because I don't think there is one. We got some really good things done. A lot of them went into effect immediately upon the governor's signature, which he's already signed it. Some go into effect, and we worked with them. This was part of the negotiation, January 1 of 27, to give PBMs, employers, payers time to kind of change the way they've done things and how they're going to handle this going forward. So our immediate kind of focus is enforcement of the good laws we have now. And that's always been one of our biggest issues is you can pass great laws, but if they're not enforced or if there's a loophole around them, what difference does it make? So I think it's going to help in the short term tremendously. I mean, part of the bill that was passed was that we can't be reimbursed below our cost. That seems probably absurd to someone who's not in the pharmacy world. To those of us that do this every day,
some legislators, right? They're looking at this going, is this really the case?
They probably believe that it's hyperbole and some exaggeration. It's not at all. I mean, those of the pharmacists that may be watching this know that that's 100% true. So just that, not losing money on a prescription, is an enormous win for us. And it's the ability for us to keep the doors open while we kind of sort the rest of the stuff out. One of the things I wanted to point out through this learning process is it helps to have data. It certainly helps with the legislators and the regulators, because they can't go in there and say this is going to double premiums or this is going to cost the school board of Bossier Parish $5 million in increased premiums. No, it's not. That's completely dishonest, and we can prove it. When you take the Office of Group Benefits, which are state employees of Louisiana, that's one of the few kind of groups of a large group of people that we can get that data. The PBMs are very, very, very secretive and defensive of their proprietary information. But we have that data. We can show that you can take those claims and pay the Louisiana Medicaid rate, which is very fair, NADAC plus a fair dispensing fee.
Dispensing fee.
Like, it's just $11. There are pharmacists across the country that would kill to have NADAC plus $11. You can apply a very fair reimbursement formula. It's fair to us, costs the patients and the payers less, and it actually saves money. When you can show that,
you extrapolate it out, it's actually showing value.
There's value added. And that's, you remember, Medicaid patients, they'll say it's apples to oranges. No, it's not. The Medicaid population in Louisiana is probably almost half the population. And it's, again, young, old, very sick, to kids that just take, something for ADHD. So it runs the gamut. They have very low or no copays at all. So you have a formula that's fair to pharmacies, that doesn't charge patients almost any copay, and it saves the state a significant amount of money. That's pretty valuable when you're going to these legislators and showing what they're telling you is not true, and we can prove it.
Yeah, there's a lot of momentum we're building here. Excited what happens in upcoming sessions, and I agree with you. Maybe not a reason to call special sessions if some of those things would have passed anyways. They're not going into effect until 27, so no need to cost additional dollars there for taxpayers. So, well, cool. I really appreciate you giving me just kind of your perspective. I think it's awesome, but really ties into you kind of starting your ownership process near the Capitol, and then that kind of shows where you've been able to grow and definitely add value to those sessions. So that's exciting to hear. Kind of switching a little bit, I want to learn more about share with me just very light, what's some of your day to day now? It seems like, you're more in tuned with the things that run on the backside of the business. Obviously I know you've got a great PIC at one of your other locations. Tell me a little bit more about what your day to day looks like now, TJ.
It's probably more, I guess, administrative type stuff than I would like for it to be. I still work the counter. I still work both stores. We have unbelievable crews at both locations. Like we don't really have turnover. I mean, it's like, these are people that are like family to me, and part of it's really cliche, but I say this all the time. Like, if I don't have this fancy, thing on the wall, these are our core values. This is our mission statement. But if our employees, I hate even calling them that, but our team or whatever you want to call it, they have the same worldview that Amy and I have. And it's really not complicated. It's like the golden rule. And I always say, like, how would you want someone to treat your grandmother if they walked in here? So once you have, and again, I don't have this great insight or profound moment where I went and hired the best people. I just work with these folks. Pharmacy is a small world, and they're loyal to me and I'm loyal to them. So it works out well. We have great staff at both locations. I'm there every day, whether it's, I can remote in through Pioneer on the back end, and I'm doing stuff all the time. I still work the counter, but it's more, administrative stuff that I really don't like and I'm not very good at. But, you have to do payroll. You have to pay taxes. You have to renew your license. All those sorts of things. Yeah. Amy would probably say I pick fights that I don't need to pick. I don't get a lot.
You got a little bit more idle time in the office to think about those things.
Yeah,
right?
and during session, I get more of that stuff done than I do the pharmacy stuff. But that's the part I love, and I really just want it. In a dream world, we fix all this so that we can just go back to filling prescriptions and running the pharmacy and visiting with people and taking care of people and that sort of thing.
Good deal. Tell me a little bit more. You talk about just your day to day being more admin. Not just you, but maybe some of your team. What are you using technology wise to kind of lean into efficiencies? What's helping you provide access and care to your patients? What are things that are important to you all today in both locations?
Well, that's certainly where the world is heading, and I'm something of a Luddite. I'm not very good at technology. I guess I'm good enough to get along, but that's one of the things I really want to focus on personally is on using these things better. There's a big push now to start kind of integrating some AI things in. That's bizarre to me. I can't even, it's like, how does a fax machine work? I don't know. It just does. But we have some younger employees that they're just inherently good at these things. So I lean on them a lot there's a lot that Pioneer can do to make life for me easier, for all of us easier and more efficient, and help the patient, help us. I probably use about 10% of what it's capable of. And so that's one of the things I really want to kind of dive into and focus on, both for us and for patients. I mean, like having an app, I would never have an app. I don't even really understand all of that, but it's super convenient. A lot of people like to have it. A lot of people still like to call us and talk to us. A lot of people like to walk in. So I guess that's kind of my goal, is to embrace technology a little bit more and let it make my life a little easier. It's tough. I mean, I'm 43 and I'm like a boomer. I kind of want to just,
we're both there. I want you to know that.
My kids certainly think I am. And we've got like 6 remote controls at my house and nobody knows which one works to do anything. So,
it's
fair. Surrounding yourself with people that do know how to do those sorts of things. And, Jonathan Gant's a mutual friend of ours. I met him through Pioneer. He's with Morrison-Dixon now, but he's incredibly knowledgeable about a lot of these things, and he's helped me a lot. Benjamin Jolly, he's like a savant for technology and Pioneer. And I kind of was like, Ben, can you just set my Pioneer system up like yours is set up. So he's helped me a lot, but it's kind of just chipping away. And if we see a need or something that can be improved upon, then let's find a way to do it.
And you talked about, you're just using, or you feel like you're using just a small percentage. It's sometimes hard just to kind of get yourself to go, I'm going to lean into it, or I'm going to take that, because you get caught up in the day to day. But it's nice whenever you've got relationships with, Ben Jolly and Jonathan as well. And of course, other users and friends that maybe use the same system, where you go, man, you guys are using that, or you've got, the faxing solution in the software now. Kind of makes you a little bit easier, kind of helps you adopt some of those things. So that's great.
It does.
To hear.
That's another great point and great segue into another, back to pharmacists kind of being colleagues. We have several of these statewide group message boards, and that we generally communicate different things. And we don't like to, why reinvent the wheel when somebody's already figured a way to do this better? Independent pharmacy owners are very, very good at sharing their knowledge, or a shortcut they learned, or, hey, did you know this? So I've learned a tremendous amount. There's like a Pioneer Facebook group. I don't even know if Pioneer's associated with it, but I never comment on it.
We've got some users that I think are the admins. We're not associated, but yeah, we've got, I believe,
helpful.
Ben and Joe McNamee.
Yeah,
some of those guys.
I've learned so much just from that. It seems silly, but things I wouldn't even think to consider or to look into or to do differently. So that I think is, and whether it be, I would say most, I don't know this, I'm just guessing, but I would say a majority of independent pharmacy owners, certainly in Louisiana, are Pioneer users. It's kind of, now there are certainly other software systems and some things that are universal, but with Pioneer, for sure. I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount just from my colleagues on how to do things differently or better. So that, it's kind of a neat thing. I mean, I don't, again, it's kind of cheesy and cliche, but we really all just want the same things. We want to take care of people. We want to run a business. We want to go home to our families at night and not have to worry about these things. And if there's something that, there may be a pharmacist that's only had a store for a year, they're teaching all of us something that we've never even considered. So that part really is kind of, again, it's the warm fuzzy, but whatever. I'll take the victories wherever I can get them. And that's a neat thing about our world.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Well, good, man. I think we were able to really just talk about a lot today, especially your journey, how you're kind of close to the Capitol and keeping your thumb on that. And again, excited to see what kind of comes forward in some of those developments, continued discussions with some of those groups, with some of the legislators, and that'll be good. We're making some really good progress here, and I'm excited to see what happens. But man, and just kind of wrapping up today, we always kind of have it into the close of the show. We talk about prescribables. I don't know if you've seen that. We talk about, what is something you're listening to? What's a book you're reading? What are you watching? I'll go first. That way I don't put you on the spot. But I'm going to probably take it a little bit different this time. A lot of times it's more industry related. I love podcasts, really anything, docuseries, anything along those lines, documentaries. But also, I recently started watching a short, like 5 or 6 episode docuseries on Netflix. I'm going to probably, like I said, alarm some folks whenever I say this. I was a kid growing up, and I don't know if you know this, DJ, too, or if you were as well, but in South Louisiana, wrestling was a big thing. And I'm talking about not wrestling, right? Yeah. Right. So you just grow up watching that, with your dad or some of those things. But anyways, there's an interesting docuseries that just came out on Netflix with WWE, and it kind of peeled back some of the curtain on some of those people, not just their character and their personas. And it shows more behind the scenes of what goes on in their day to day. I'd say it's really interesting. It's a different lens. And if you didn't know it was wrestling, you would be really interested in it. So that's one that I wasn't expecting, saw it on the homepage, dialed into it. And it's been really interesting. It's been good.
It's right up my alley. Like I'm a documentary guy. I would rather watch a documentary than I haven't seen most movies, or, I don't know, I don't know if you know this, DJ, too, or if you were as well, but in South Louisiana, wrestling was a big thing. And I'm talking about not wrestling, wrestling, right? So you just grow up watching that, with your dad or something like that. And I haven't seen most my friends make fun of me like I've never seen Star Wars or Rocky or Rambo or whatever. But Amy and I we'll watch some things together. Usually it's like a documentary or a series. Podcast wise, we travel a lot to North Louisiana, to Ville Platte, where Amy's from, just wherever. We listen to podcasts, like the kids are doing whatever they're doing. And we put I put a left AirPod in, she puts a right AirPod in so they can't hear these things. But if anything, I jokingly say, like if anything ever happens to me or Amy and they look at the podcast, it's always like these murder mystery things or whatever. But I guess it's kind of mindless, but we listen to that a lot. I mean, I'm a golf nut. I record and watch golf. I watch a lot of documentaries. I say that I don't watch a ton of TV, but try to find things to watch with the kids. There's not a lot. I mean, we still watch Andy Griffith. My mom and dad love that show. So again, there's not a lot that you can watch with. I've got a 9, 12, and 15-year-old, but like reading wise, I go in phases. Like I'll read pervasively books. I'm a big Ernest Hemingway fan. It's just fascinating to me. I love the way he talks in like short, choppy, understandable sentences. Relatable,
right?
I don't. I'm not really a fiction guy other than Hemingway. I read a lot of. If I'm reading, it's usually nonfiction or something history related. I'm kind of a history nut, but I don't sleep very well, and I'm kind of a news junkie. I just like to know what's going on out there. I'm trying to learn how to use Twitter or X or whatever. I don't really understand it. I never really had an account, but I do that. Just go to different news sources. I try to go kind of all over the gamut and get different perspectives. But
are you a news in the background type of person?
Not usually, because if it's on, I'll watch it. I get distracted, but
Get locked in.
I guess golf would be the thing. My 9-year-old, he's a golf nut like I am. And like my friends, everybody knows, like, don't talk to me during the Masters. I might be dark. I might be working and don't know, what Tiger shot today. So,
oh yeah. No spoiler alerts,
it's
right?
ridiculous. I know it is. And Amy, we've been married 18 years and it used to bother her, I think, but she's just kind of now like, whatever. That's what he does. So yeah, that, and just kind of whatever we can watch with the kids. And, usually we'll try to watch a show a night and I usually fall asleep in the middle of it. So nothing too exciting.
Same. Absolutely. And that's why I can't finish a show. But anyways, good deal. TJ, thanks so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate the time to spend. And let's keep in touch. Certainly I'm interested, I'll be following a lot of this closely, but maybe what we'll do is in the future, we'll have you on for an update to see what happens and how we move forward here in the state.
Yeah, that sounds great. Good talking to you. This was great. And I don't think you had to use the dump button. So,
no, I think we're good,
Amy
man.
can finally take a deep breath right now that her maniac husband made it through without saying something ridiculous. Maybe.
Brandon's got a lot of content to go from, so I really
awesome.
appreciate
Thanks,
it. Thanks,
Jonathan. Thanks, Brandon.